Hello, friends, and welcome to Binge O'Clock, the podcast where we watch something and then we talk about it. I'm Joy Selden, and I've seen everything.
I'm Danielle, and I've seen almost nothing.
I'm Nella, and I'm not ready. I'm just really not ready for this.
Ready for this being season 3 of Fringe?
Yes. But first we have to get through the part 2 finale of season 2, and I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for season 3. I'm just not ready.
He's not ready. You know what? That's a place. I completely understand. And yes, this episode, as Nella mentioned, we watched the last 2 episodes of season 2 of Fringe, which are called Over There, parts 1 and 2. And they were really tough. I'm trying to think of a concise way of summary. So Peter goes over to the alternate universe, and Walter and friends also go over to get Peter back because they find out that Peter is actually an integral part of a machine that could destroy our universe. So they go to get him back, and then the hijinks ensue.
Exactly. Like, everything that could go wrong does go wrong.
Hijinks. Hijinks is what we're calling what happened. Okay, cool.
That's like, hijinks is such a fun word. This was not
fun.
This was not fun.
No, nothing about this was fun.
Also true. I don't know. Your rant about Andrew Jackson was kind of fun. So,
Anyway.
I mean, we could just jump right into that, or do you want to rev up to your rant about Andrew Jackson? Because the first thing that happens is we appear in part 1 in the alternate universe where everyone is sexy.
Oh,
yes.
I loved the way this episode opened up.
Yes, I did as well.
It just threw you right into Fringe headquarters, but on the other side, we're in the midst of a Class 1 event, and everything just works and clicks and moves. And
Broyles is wearing his tightest
sexy.
black t-shirt.
Yes,
Sure is.
Charlie is infected with arachnids.
And has a scar.
And has a shaved head, and I'm like, that's not, you were not, no, let's go back to the hair. Charlie, what are we doing?
Well, you know, maybe if he didn't have a shaved head, you would kind of see the critters crawling around in there.
But that's what the shots are for.
He has to take those so often. I feel bad.
I know, he really does.
Bugs like you.
Like,
Bugs like you. I definitely really love how much snarkier Folivia is. I mean, like, look, I love our serious girl who is like all business all the time. But man, do I really appreciate some extra snark and the way she swaggers. And I'm just like, I don't know. There's something about her that I really find endearing.
I don't.
That's fair. It's totally fair. I think she's also a product of her universe, which we'll see later. There's a ton of stuff that we learn about this universe in the first 5 minutes. One thing of which was that they don't have Andrew Jackson on the 20. They have Martin Luther King. And that had...
Okay, wait. Okay, we can unpack this. All right.
That made Nella explode a little bit.
How to even begin? All right, this is like Bright, the orc movie all over again, because you can't just get rid of a huge player in American history and policy and then tell me that we still end up in a world where Martin Luther King Jr. is on our money. Like, and I know he's not on our money right now, but like that, like, so is it just because like he went into politics? Like, do we not have a civil rights movement and he did something else because he was a great guy? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing, show? Like, did John Quincy Adams get 2 terms? Like what filled the gaping maw that represents like Andrew Jackson killing like America's banks and Andrew Jackson pretty much fighting the first Seminole War to get us Florida and sending in like all that stuff. Where are we? What? How? What?
Now,
hang on.
For the peek behind the curtain, we attempted to discuss this previous to recording this podcast episode, and one possible theory that I floated is that Jackson still exists. They had their who do we replace him with on the $20 debate earlier than we did, and instead of going with Harriet Tubman, went with MLK Jr., Dr. King.
To which I pointed out that, fine, so let's say we're in a universe where they've already replaced the genocidal maniac on the 20.
Exactly.
Great. So it's not like that just what's his butt is ignorant of who Jackson is. It's that everyone's like, who's that's weird. I don't know, who's Jackson?
That's true, because they look at the 20, they scan it, and Lincoln goes, "Who the hell is Jackson?"
Yes.
To which the only possible way that Jackson could exist, and Link feels that way, and they had this huge seminal debate about changing who was going to be on the 20, and yet Link still has no idea who this is that Link is an idiot.
Look, but do I want to live in a world where Andrew Jackson actually got assassinated? The bullet actually did the job? Sure, instead of just living next to his lung for the rest of his life? Yeah, that's exactly what the world I want to live in. But I don't believe that Fringe, this show, has the kind of nuance to suggest that, like, he was just some white guy that no one recognized, even though he technically did exist. Because without Andrew Jackson, like, look, we can debate whether or not if one person wasn't there in history, there are certain events that would still happen regardless, right? We can debate that. We can debate about how important any one individual is in history.
Especially in a world where the observers exist, I think, and where we know that they do gently nudge the timeline.
Right. I am struggling with the idea that Andrew Action Jackson... racist Andrew Jackson, awful slave-owning Andrew Jackson, dueling because it was fun for him, Andrew Jackson, because stop insulting my wife, even though, yes, we technically committed bigamy, she thought her husband was dead. I don't know what to tell you, Andrew Jackson. Like, by bumping him off, like, to a place where you wouldn't even think of putting him on the 20, that it doesn't have deeply, deeply influential repercussions throughout history, especially American history, especially since he was the face of American populism and the rise of the mediocre white man.
I mean, I'm gonna talk about the thing Nella hates and will never watch, and I'm so sorry. I'll try to keep it to a minimum. This is the Star Trek Into Darkness problem, where we have a dude who has an established history, and we have decided to bring said dude back into the Star Trek world, and nobody knows who he is. Nobody knows where he's from. No one understands who he was in the history of our planet, and he's just there. And I sat there trying to understand, okay, well, maybe they changed the history. Oh, No, they didn't change the history. The history is
still shot him off the...
It's exactly the same, which also bothered me because Benedict Cumberbatch is nowhere near Indian, but that's fine. That's a totally discussion for a different time.
But what they wanted to do is they wanted Chris Pine to play dumb jock Kirk, even though he's not a dumb jock. Kirk knows his history. He's a history nerd. Like
everyone,
you messed that up.
Everyone on the ship in the original series knows who this guy is. A bell goes off when they hear his name, and they're like, "Oh yeah," and everyone has an opinion about him because he was a war criminal. It's like saying you didn't know who Stalin was, or Hitler, or like any of these other people, and the fact that
it's too big of a name with too great of an influence on time.
Exactly. And the movie did not change the history, where I was like, if you change the history, it would make sense that nobody would know who the hell this guy was. But you didn't. And I'm sitting here thinking, is Jackson like the proto-Khan? Is it just like, what if Jackson was like not even there? You don't see anything, but the history was still the same. And it's just like,
and all they had to do was just be like, what's Jackson doing here? That's all they had to say to
Jackson
change it.
On the 20? That slave owner?
That's all you had to say. Like, instead of who's
that genocidal maniac?
Jackson?
Like, you know, they could have thought 5 seconds in front of their face, but they didn't. And I'm sorry. I would like to apologize on behalf of the writers of Fringe because, genuinely speaking, like, yes, they should have thought about that. But it's just like the Manhattan. Like, they wanted you, the audience, to recognize that this was different, right? Like, which is funny because it's like everyone is literally different. We know we're in the alternate universe. Like, Olivia has red hair with bangs. Like, how do you not?
But they want you to know that, like, quote, little things have changed. Right. But I think the issue here is that this was not a little thing.
It's not a little thing.
This was monumental.
Exactly. And that's exactly
Precisely.
right. That's exactly right. And that's like, I mean, side note, but that's always why Khan in Star Trek Into Darkness will always bother me because it's like, he is not a small war villain. He is a large war villain. He dubbed himself the next, like, Alexander the Great or whatever and tried to take over half the planet.
I want to know. One it just occurred to me, if Andrew Jackson wasn't Jack in his unit in this other universe, then, like, we might not have, like, stolen land from Mexico.
Yeah.
Because then Polk wouldn't have had his mentor in Jackson. And when Polk became president, all he wanted to do was steal Mexico and, like, maybe, like, 2 other things. But I definitely remember all he wanted to do was steal Mexico. And he was like a one-term mother who was just like, I did what I came in to do. I don't need another term. Sayonara, suckers.
Yeah. No, that's 1,000% correct. Like, the whole makeup of the country could have been different. And maybe it isn't even that, like, we learned from our mistakes. There's something about the alternate universe that makes me go, but we obviously are not living in a utopia, right? Like, no. I look at little pieces and little things and I'm like, this feels like the Optics alternate universe. This feels like everything is important because it needs to look important. Like, this is why we call it, like, this is the sexy universe. Where, like, everyone's super,
And it's, it is kind of a surveillance state, right?
That's why they moved the freaking DOD headquarters to Liberty Island where the Statue of Liberty is. There's no reason to do that. You have to take a boat to get there. That is just such a power move. And it's stupid. It's stupid and it should feel bad.
I agree with you.
Okay, wait. Oh, yes. You go first and then I'm going to go.
Okay. That's also, like, why the Optics feel so strong to me, because even as the Fringe division is a thing that is not top secret, works with local law enforcement, is an official DOD department, my brain is just like, Fringe division doesn't even know why it's operating. The first time they find out is as soon as this thing happens, because Walternate is like, oh, that's right, I took back my son. They probably sent agents. Maybe I should, like, come clean with the team so that they're not,
And
surprised.
I mean, the lie that they were told was astronomical. And honestly, not the best lie. Like, just listening to it, I was kind of like, wait, how could they possibly believe this? Because basically what people in this universe are told is that those pieces of fabric between time and space that are getting thinner, I forget what they call them, but those areas that are getting thinner.
Basically the ozone of the universe.
They tell them that these are natural occurrences. Yep. They're natural disasters. And the team has no choice but to quarantine those zones. And there's nothing they can do to stop them. And they tell the team that if you walked through one of those little holes in the universe, there would be nothing on the other side. Like, they actually believed that they were naturally occurring holes to nowhere. And I was like, naturally occurring holes to nowhere? What?
Man, the conspiracy theorists of this world must be lit.
Right?
What?
They must be off the chain.
Yes, but of course, Fringe Division just descends, quarantines the zone, puts it in amber, and no one can get through because they are just that powerful in this alternate universe.
I love how the guy who was concerned about quarantine didn't seem that concerned. If that's what quarantine is, I think if I saw Fringe Division, I would be running in the opposite direction as fast as I can.
I mean, so true. It does appear as though these events happen just all the time, though.
Yeah.
You know?
And then it's just like
Which is
a random 10,000 lot of population is just in amber and declared legally dead, I guess.
probably gives you a really nihilistic perspective on life.
Right? Well, I
guess.
mean, they're like even talking about it so weirdly nonchalantly, right? You know, like Olivia comes back and is like, "Are you serious right now? I haven't even updated my will." Oh man. Like
Yeah. The sexy universe. They just, they don't really have to think more than 10 minutes ahead because who cares?
I mean, they also
Why
follow
bother?
orders way more than our Fringe team does. Like, how many times has our
Very
Fringe
true.
team like just thought outside the box and just taken care of something? You know, it's a well-oiled machine, but it's definitely an optics first.
Yes. Now, before we get too off base, did you end up researching the Statue of Liberty, Nella?
Oh, no, I didn't. Was it just like if you can clean copper? So it's hang on.
If you can, is there a way to clean copper?
Because speaking of optics, like I do think that is actually kind of funny because if this is the optics universe and if they do in fact regularly spend time and money to clean the Statue of Liberty, it would make so much sense.
It would make so much sense. I mean, like, also, the Statue of Liberty could also be bronze?
Okay, so here we go. Right off the bat. You could clean it. And in fact, to clean copper, it could just be as simple as like a mix of like lemon juice or something else. But the reason you keep the patina is because that keeps it safe. It keeps the copper safe. Like
what's the patina?
So the green. Like patina is good for copper.
Gotcha.
Actually.
Oh.
So like cleaning it off.
So by cleaning the Statue of Liberty, they're actually causing it to degrade.
They are. Which isn't that a fitting metaphor?
It actually is.
Universe.
It actually super is. They're spending time and money to make something look the way they want it to look, but actually it's incredibly short-sighted. It's perfect.
Yes.
It's perfect.
I'm so glad we could at least
did it.
solve one mystery.
I'm not gonna give the writers credit for this. I'm not gonna lie.
Right? It feels like they just thought it would be an obvious like, oh, that's different. That they could easily CGI.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And something a little better than just constantly showing the skyline with the Twin Towers, I think, is what they were going for there.
Yeah.
Like it's either a Zeppelin or the copper Statue of Liberty now, kind of moving forward.
Yeah, for sure.
The episode opens in the alternate universe. All of our team is
20
getting
minutes
together.
of me yelling about Andrew Jackson.
Yes. This is actually precisely how that went. We fully paused the episode, did this, and then kept on going. And kept on going. Basically what it does is it pans over to the right, and what you notice is the original team is there.
Yeah, I was so mad I didn't even notice that. You had to rewind it so I would notice
We definitely had to rewind it. She missed the entire moment.
Yeah.
Including that Murder Cancer is dead and the entire team is there. Just lost.
That's my girl.
Yeah. So if you ever need to distract me, just be like, who's Andrew Jackson?
20 minutes rant later, just like, what just happened? Where are we?
Yeah, and then meanwhile you've managed to sneak by me. You know, like this is why I can't be a security guard.
The team ends up, which I always thought was really interesting, that there's this dynamic of, Peter goes over to the alternate universe. Walternate tells him, once you cross over, you won't be able to come back. Which, as far as Walternate is concerned, might actually be true. I don't know. It's hard to say. Because they spent so much energy and time and triangulation trying to get Walternate into our universe. There's a part of me that's like, but is he lying? Because obviously you could still try and make that happen,
Or maybe it's that he knows he wants to put Peter in the world-ending machine, and so Peter is never going to come back. Kind of in a sinister way.
It does the job for him, right? Like it makes him more susceptible to, you're going to have to get used to life here. And like also explains a lot of Peter's actions once he's over here. Which I know, I can't remember which one of you. We actually watched this all together in the same room, so it was very entertaining because I can't remember which one of you did this, but when Peter meets Olivia and says something like, "Oh, you remind me of someone, but your hair is different. I think I like yours better." I can't remember which one of you was like, "No." But like this feeling of needing to make a life for himself here, right? Like, of all the human beings on the planet, Peter Bishop is most suited for this particular lifestyle, where it's like, oh, you mean I just need to drop everything and start a new life somewhere else that's like kind of different from everything else I've known? Yeah, sure, I got it. Let's go.
Yeah, this is Peter's MO. I mean, before he met and fell in love with Olivia, he was pretty much nomadic. And when Peter goes through trauma, Peter leaves.
Yeah.
That is what Peter does.
Bolts, for sure.
And so he bolts. Yep, exactly. And starts to set down roots elsewhere, but shallow roots.
Yeah.
So he's reconnecting with Mom. He's finding a way to save this universe because the universe is slowly falling apart.
So Walternate tells him, which, is only half of a lie. And then he is getting to know Olivia. Look, I'm not happy with it. I don't like it. It just feels really true to character, where it's just like, he's obviously grieving the loss of a relationship where he, instead of, wanting to work things out with Olivia and try and figure that out while also, just running away from the father who raised him, he abandons both of them to go to this alternate reality. Just, it feels really true to character that he would just instantly latch on to something else that he finds familiar. Even though this Olivia, he finds out pretty quickly, is like, maybe you two are nothing alike,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just, like, Peter damsel in distress is just on full throttle on that one. And I'm just like, Peter is always like bad at solo missions. Like, he gets himself into such bad positions all the time, and everybody has to come and save him. And I'm like, Peter.
What if you didn't just constantly run full speed towards the trouble? Like, what if you didn't?
What if this one time you did not choose the danger?
Or you just stopped and thought, And I don't even think that he's always choosing the danger. He gets so emotional. He gets so emotional, and he does the most emotional thing every single time. And every single time it gets him in trouble, which is why I kind of love that he's our damsel in distress, and I love it about him.
He's our damsel in distress. And I do, like, I'm sorry, I actually started talking about, like, the way Walter and Olivia get to the other side is by these three other Cortexiphan children, now adults, helping them to cross over. And, we always knew Nina Sharp was keeping people in induced comas for a reason. So I guess here we are.
Right. But this is a callback to the end of that other episode.
For sure.
Where Broyles and Nina look at each other and they go, so if there were two separate experiments, let's call it 40 to 50 kids per experiment, and we've only found 4 of them, how many other kids do you think are out there, Yeah. And there's the seed that was planted for Nina's school for very special children. Where they have learned Professor X style to control their abilities.
Yes. Well, mostly.
Well, they did. They were able to control them. Yes. I think the problem is that before they went off to save both universes, the Fringe division gives them a night off to do whatever they please. And James Heath, beautiful soul that he is, decides to go and heal an entire hospital of dying people. Yep. And the other two, Nick and what's her name? Sally, I want to say. I'm going to hazard a Sally.
Sally? Might be Sally. Oh, no. I'm so
sorry. Might be a Sally. Nick and the other.
Sally Clark.
I was right. I'm so proud. Okay, Nick and Sally have a very sexy evening together where they are using their powers to enjoy each other's company, as it were. And what Walter didn't tell them is that if they use their powers too extensively and then cross to the other universe, they're gonna cross over super juiced.
Yeah, well, either super juiced or super depleted, because Nick also can't use his power at all. Which I thought was interesting, because it was like his power has been overpowered before. So my brain sort of went like, did he dampen too much? You know, like.
Right. Yeah, very strange. But at any rate, they cross over super juiced. James Heath dies immediately.
Immediately, poor James. So the other thing this episode does well, this is in part 1, in my opinion, is it has Walter sort of confront these now adults who he tortured as children and basically have to ask them for help. You know, he's pretty open about the fact that, like, I am the last person you probably want to be looking at right now because of the things I did, because of the things that I and William Bell did to you. And he apologizes in the best way he possibly can. I think he genuinely meant it. Was it a real apology? Not by today's standards, not really. But like he also, I feel like he also genuinely asked them for help in a very specific, like, I know I am coming to you when you hold all the cards and I am just asking for your help. And I felt particularly bad because James Heath is the one where Nick is like a completely different man, and James Heath is the one that says, no, he's exactly the same.
Yeah.
And like,
which was great.
It's just such a great, I mean, like the way the show deals with like how trauma can change a person, the abuser and the victims, but also like their interpretations of the abuse that they experienced as a child. And, you know, I think Nick is also in the strange, probably of the four of them, Olivia included, in the position to actually know what Walter is feeling. So like it makes sense for Nick to say something like he feels like a completely different person, you know?
Oh, that makes sense. I was also imagining that Nick, at least the way I understood him in the show, he's always been framed as the more sensitive one. You know, he's always relying on someone else to kind of keep him going and to help him be strong. And so
I would say that's correct.
Yeah, exactly. And child Nick would have seen Walter as a monster. Big, scary claws monster, whereas James perhaps would have been able to see Walter for who he really is, which is a bad person who made all of the right excuses for himself. Oh, it's Belly's work. I didn't really know what was going on. It was for the right cause. Our universe needs guardians. You know, a bad person who made really good excuses for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. But yeah, the interesting thing is just like, and all these kids are meant to help them cross over. And then, you know, they cross over and it goes so sideways so quickly. And, you know, poor James. Poor murder cancer.
Murder cancer.
He just didn't want to be murder cancer anymore. He just wanted to heal. He wanted
the ultimate
be
heal.
Jesus cancer.
He gave all of himself and then he was gone.
Although, yeah, we really could have, I mean, Walter really could have been like, so this is just a hypothesis, but maybe don't use your powers before we go.
Right.
I mean, I feel like Walter wasn't even there. There are so many variables that Walter deals with, but he's mostly reactionary. He mostly, like, sees the Fringe event and then goes, here's a bunch of hypotheses as to why this could have happened. He doesn't do a lot of preemptive anything.
That's fair.
I mean, like, he's
not a man who takes precautions.
No. I mean, also, like, Peter had just left. We see it throughout the episode that he was just not in the right headspace. He was barely in the right headspace to come up with this plan in the first place. And the thing the night he spends doing is Peter's laundry. You know, it's very sad.
Very sad. Just sad, sobbing laundry.
I know. That's one of the saddest scenes.
That last night before they leave, I thought was had some really great character moments where you get to see, you know, Olivia the people that Olivia says goodbye to are Ella and Rachel.
Mm-hmm. Except she doesn't actually tell Rachel what's going on. And Rachel sees the cross and she gets all emotional.
Olivia! Just what if you just talked to your sister? Kind of the opposite advice that I would give Peter. You know, I'm like, Peter, you can shut it down like just a little bit, you know? And with Olivia, I'm like, girl, just feel your feelings.
Peter needs a few more barriers up, and Olivia needs a few more walls knocked down, and then, you know, and then it's perfectly balanced.
That's why they're perfect for each other.
I mean, not to skip to the end completely, but like one of my favorite moments in this is like Olivia is such a mess trying to get Peter back. And she's so desperate, and she's so raw and emotional in a way that we haven't seen Olivia. Probably not since the first few episodes of the show, where she was like a very, you know, forthright with Broyles and just like, this is who I am. You know, like I'm highly, like I trust my gut. I trust my emotions to lead me in the right direction.
Right.
And like, I love that she comes to save him, and she's just like, you know, wherever you are, you need to be with me. Or what is it? I'm sure you wrote it down or something. Or just
I didn't write it down, but I remember it. She tells him that she thought of 100 reasons that he should come back with her, that they should fight the shapeshifters, that they should do this and they should do that. And she said, and basically she says, ultimately the reason you need to come back is because you belong with me.
Yeah.
And then they kiss.
And then they share a smooch.
I mean, I am who I am.
I know, and then it all gets dashed to pieces. I know. It's coming.
And then it all gets dashed cruelly to pieces. Which, Nella, you actually predicted. And I had to try really hard not to say anything about.
I
think in season one, we asked you, when do you think the OTP is going to come together? And you literally said the show is going to tease their ability to come together at the end of season 2, and then rip them apart.
Yeah, and
You're right.
did. Sure did.
Before we started recording, listeners, I definitely told Nella, I was like, look, you are more than welcome to get off the bus whenever you feel the need to. I will not make you finish the series. It is entirely up to you. I can tell you stuff will get wilder as we go. And there will be a bunch of stuff that will be highly unpleasant. And then there's going to be a bunch of stuff that's just wild and insane and whatever the hell.
I just, I'm really torn. And I think we're just going to have to, I won't be able to make that call until I make that call. But I don't know whether I want to sad quit or if I got to keep going because, I just need to know how bad it is.
Right. See how bad it gets.
Yeah.
I find out why they didn't kill Link off. Because he was incinerated, but he is not dead.
But he's not dead.
Yeah. Wow, I can't wait to find out what the show has in store for Lincoln, whom I care so much about. Truly.
I can't share any of my feelings about him, because if I share my feelings about him, it might give things away.
Oh.
You'll get to see more Charlie. More Charlie is good. Scarly.
I feel
Why
like
have we not been calling him Scarly this whole time?
No, I think Scarly is a bitter consolation prize. I can't even feel joy in my heart for Scarly because of what they're doing with Faux Livia. That's cold. That's ice cold.
Yeah. I know. And, they teased a little bit that Scarly and Faux Livia still have that same sort of relationship when they're in the car together, and he starts just kind of unloading and talking about how recently he's just really felt out of his depth.
Scarly is Charlie in episode 1 or episode 2 of the series. He just found out this massive thing about like these events that have been happening for the last 20 years, and he's just understanding like doppelgangers and things like that, and he's just like, what do you mean Peter's alive? Which, by the way, the Lindbergh baby moment is one of my favorite jokes in the whole thing.
Okay, can't wait. Tell us about the Lindbergh baby.
Well, no, I mean, okay, the Lindbergh baby was a huge, so, you know, Lindbergh, fascist, aeronaut, his kid gets kidnapped, and it was like the crime of the century.
Yeah.
And then the baby ended up dead.
Ignorant question, though.
Sure.
Wildly famous, infamous, question mark, news story.
Yes.
How much difference would it have made if the baby had never existed, though?
I mean, the question is, is Charles Lindbergh a person here? Because a lot of alternate histories love to play that Charles Lindbergh became like the face and the political leader of like the American fascist movement because he was really big on eugenics and Schwarzer.
But what did his baby have to do with that? Like if his baby had never died, something, or...
Well, no, it's just more the question of just I'm not so much the baby, but just Charles Lindbergh as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like maybe if he lived a perfectly happy life, he would have gone really much harder into politics because he's like, my son needs to live in a beautiful white supremacist world. More so than it is now. Even more so.
Just blatantly so. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, should we talk about what they do with Olivia and Olivia? And then we can end the episode on something else. You know, we can end the episode on Leonard Nimoy or something else, but I think we should throw in the middle of things Olivia.
All I want is for Scarly to look at our Olivia and be like, I think I like you better than the other one. I just want that sick burn. That's all I want.
Okay. I'm just going to very carefully do nothing with my face because things happen where some people feel things and other people feel things, and then Danielle feels things. And that's all I will say.
Oh, joy.
Well done. So for those of you who either haven't seen Fringe in a while or haven't seen it at all, they do the old switcheroo because Olivia from our reality decides that she's going to infiltrate Fringe as faux Olivia, dyes her hair, and cuts it a bit to give herself bangs, which I'm like, her bangs are better.
They were better.
Obviously a woman who lived through the 90s bangs fad and like understood how not to bangs. And
obviously did not learn anything from Nina Sharp.
Absolutely nothing.
In the bangs department.
Absolutely nothing.
Now that's your real Fringe department right there.
So faux Olivia ends up getting orders from the secretary to infiltrate their team. And basically in the scuffle to leave, she takes Olivia's place and goes back with the team. Now, I was also sitting there going, you created a doorstop and you had William Bell be your energy source. But if faux Olivia has no cortexiphan in her system...
Yeah, how does she fucking survive?
How did it even work? Like, first of all, like the doorstop wasn't meant to, you know, Olivia was supposed to open the door. The doorstop was meant to keep the door open. And then William Bell was meant to catapult them because he is a billion atom bombs or something really poetic, but also, oh no. R.I.P. R.I.P. Billy.
R.I.P.
But yeah, and that's what happens. So faux Olivia comes back with the team and awaits her orders from the secretary, and that's where season 2 ends.
And that's where season 2 ends, with Peter thinking that he is finally romantically
connected.
What's the word I'm looking for? Connected to the love of his life. But that's not the love of his life. That's faux Olivia.
And this was 100% Walternet's like plan from the get-go, because it was you know, like as soon as Peter even recognizes Olivia's name. Walter Knitt is like, yep, send her in, you know, like make life here as easy for my son to stay as possible. And then it was just like, oh, wait, Olivia infiltrated our stuff. Send faux Olivia with their team instead. Like,
yeah.
It's such a dastardly move, and I hate it. I hate it every time.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Especially with, you know, as the episode closes out, it ties up just a few loose ends. So Peter and Walter, right? They get their little moment where Peter hasn't 100% forgiven Walter, but he says, you did cross universes twice to save my life. That's got to count for something, right? So you get that moment, and then directly after it, you see Walter Knitt with Olivia. That scene with Walter Knitt and Olivia, where she's inside the dark cell and she's shouting to save her life, is just where the entire episode ends.
Yeah.
Cut to black. End of season 2.
Yeah. It's a tough season closer. It always was. It always will be. You definitely see the story they're trying to tell, and a lot of us aren't here for it, to be totally honest.
Nope.
It's our least favorite non-con dub-con storylines. Those playing the home came dubious consent, and it's basically just non-consent, really, on so many levels.
Because Peter will not be sleeping with the person he thinks he is sleeping with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And especially because, you know, and I mentioned this while we were watching it too, like, Faux Olivia is in an obvious, committed, loving relationship in her universe.
They have matching tattoos. He makes dinner for her and leaves it in the fridge.
He gives her massages on his last night in town before he's gone for a week. They obviously built this life together and are just very, you know, very intimate with each other and very close. And, you know, Olivia doesn't have that. Our Olivia doesn't have that. Very, you know, the blacks and grays, very solitary lifestyle. And it's just, it's unfortunate because it's like, and now faux Olivia is thrown in with Peter, and we can pretty much see the writing on the wall of where this relationship is supposed to go. And it's like, faux Olivia has a man at home. You know, and she's under orders, and it's just, you know, it's not great. It's not great.
No, it's not.
Pour one out for Leonard Nimoy, the internet's grandfather.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is amazing to me that he, you know, he really can play anyone, and I'm just like, but it's Leonard Nimoy. He's good and kind and beautiful.
He is a perfect human being.
Good job, Leonard.
Yep.
He is the perfectest.
I mean, it really is. Like, just by the fact that he's like, Willie Bell is played by Leonard Nimoy, it's just like, but I love him. But I hate him, but I love him.
Like, I could watch him and Walter bicker all day. Like,
right? I loved their bickering in the second episode.
So good.
I love it.
And I also love that Olivia is the one that's like, hey!
I love how quickly he could turn the charm on. I love how quickly he can play the doddering old man looking for attention.
That's my favorite moment. I told them immediately. I was like, by the way, welcome to my favorite moment in this whole thing, because William Bell's like, I'll stall. Don't worry about it. I got this. And like, he just starts going up at troubling times. Chaotic times. Oh, what's that gun you have there? You know, I designed that gun. It always had a flaw. And it's like, sir, we have to. Oh, yes, I'm friends with the secretary. You have to listen to me.
Oh, he was truly perfect. He also gets that really cool line as he's blowing up all the cars at the end of the episode, where he takes out the gun, which he was talking about earlier. And he says, you know, I supplied the Fringe division with the Model 76. Then he, you know,
explodes a car.
He explodes an entire car and goes, this is the 77. And I'm like, yes, Leonard Nimoy, yes.
It's just so funny to me because it's just like, and then it's Spock. Like, he gets this moment, and then I'm like, and then I just see Spock, and that's it. I was very happy to see Brendan in this episode.
Oh,
Yeah.
As per usual. Always makes my day when I get to see him.
Him getting really excited about the science. I love that he is 100% on the inside now.
Except when they start talking about cortexiphan, and Nina Sharp is like, could you leave? This secret you don't need to know about. Go ahead. Go. Shoo.
Okay, well, speaking of side characters, I want to put a pin in our discussion of AU Astrid and how we feel about AU Astrid, because we do get just a sneak peek of what Agent Farnsworth is going to be like in season 3 of this show. And I think maybe I will refer to her as Agent Farnsworth.
I feel like she would want you to.
Yes. Agreed. Versus the Astrid that we know and love, and who we find out cooks and bakes when she's nervous, and so she's been making and eating cookies and pie all week.
Yeah.
So cute.
While Peter's been away. So cute. That's you know what, I can't talk about Agent Farnsworth yet because I feel like you haven't gotten to spend time with her yet, Nella.
No, I haven't, so we can pin that.
But my one more thing is that is the thing I would like to discuss.
Yes. We will talk about this again.
Later.
Do you have one, Nella, or is it just, I don't know if I'm coming back next week, which is also a valid place to be.
You know, that ad for season 11 of The West Wing on the bus stop was a deep cut.
Sure was.
That was vicious.
I had completely forgotten about it because I remember seeing it when the show first aired, and then I was like, "Oh snap!" and I'd completely forgotten that was there.
I also just enjoy that the bus scene for the whatever the ID you're supposed to carry in the alternate universe, the Show Me. I just like that we pretty much had the exact change scene from Star Trek, the 4th movie, the best one, the one with the whales.
What does exact change mean? It's 100% that scene.
So good. If I want to continue, or if I just want to sad quit.
Well, we can also just take it episode by episode. See how it goes, see how bad it gets, and then at a certain point, you can nope out. It's all good.
All right. Very well.
And we'll just see how it falls.
Okay. We'll just see. Exactly. All right, everyone. We would love to hear from you. Please check us out at Binge O'Clock Pod on Twitter and Facebook, where you can answer the question, what do you do to relax when you are stressed? You can also email us at bingeoclockpod@gmail.com. And don't forget, we have a Patreon. Find us at patreon.com/clockpod.
That's right. And tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones, tell the live lobsters in your life about Binge O'Clock, and we will see you next time.